I want you all to stand up and give a big round of applause. Be part of the posse, Dr. Sherriff Richard Mack. We normally does a 2-hour presentation because we are short on time. I just got to ask one question. Is there any elected? I know Bruce Anderson's here, some county commissioners. He's under distraction. Is there any other representatives, or we always honor the representatives because they are here tonight? So. No?
Let's do it this way. If you're an elected official, just stand up real quick. Very good. Very good. And there's a sheriff talking to his wife, and he's too busy, so we're all letting him stay down. All right. Well, I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad to be here, and we're going to share some information tonight that's just going to knock your socks off. A lot of this you've never heard before because no one has ever bothered to publish and get this Supreme Court decision that I started in 1994 out to the public. In fact, the Clinton administration said, bury it. And they did. And so this is going to be news to you, but first of all, just so you know, this is the only time in U.S. history where sheriffs sued the federal government and won a case at the U.S. Supreme Court. The only time. And I'm proud to tell you, I started the whole thing. And I was just from a small county in southeast Arizona, Graham County, Arizona. It was totally miraculous, folks. This is totally a miracle. And I am not in charge of miracles. All of us know who does miracles. I was just a conduit, that's all. And I've always prayed that I would be an instrument in God's hands for good. And He used me. He used me, and that's what we're here for, to do His bidding. And this was His work. It was not mine. All I wanted to do was be sheriff. Right now, I wish I was just retiring as sheriff. I just turned 70. I'll be 71 in December. It was my favorite job. Being sheriff in my hometown where I grew up, man, I love that job. And this suit cost me my law enforcement career. I haven't served a day since this decision came out. Not one day in law enforcement. But, as my wife said, we got other stuff to do. Since then, I've written 6 books, and I've traveled to every state in the Union. I really love those meetings in Hawaii. My wife didn't come to Minnesota, but she never misses when I go to Hawaii. What's the matter with her? So folks, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to avoid some of the pleasantries, but I'm going to start with something that the lady having the birthday said. Was it her? That said that Clinton, sorry, President Trump, that was a slip, that President Trump could not get a jury trial in that New York mess. Did you say that? Okay, very good. Well, you're going to have a birthday sometime.
I did just
See, good. I'm not lying. Very good. Well, thank you for that, because shall we look at the 7th Amendment to the United States Constitution? Let's look at that for a minute. Okay, so the 6th Amendment guarantees in all criminal matters that you get a jury trial. Okay? And Gideon versus Wainwright really reinforced that, and that's an amazing case you want to look up. So it says, good grief, do I have to have somebody else read this? Who has reading glasses? I don't even need reading glasses. I got most of it memorized anyway. In suits of common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of a trial by jury shall be preserved. Shall, what does shall mean? Must happen. It has to happen. There's no exception. Shall. So he should be already filing a lawsuit on that and an objection. They can't deny him unless the value of the controversy is $19.99. We've already heard that it looks like it might be $600 million. That's a little bit over $19.99. If the value of the controversy is over $20, so maybe it's just $20, so maybe it starts at $20.01. So maybe it's $20.01. Regardless, they are violating the Constitution. And I am I'm sick and tired of this country thinking that it can violate the supreme law of the land. That's the whole problem. That's what got us in this mess. So why did I file a lawsuit against the federal government? I never ran for sheriff and said, hey, you guys, I know Clinton's going to go crazy on us one day, so I'll be the first one in America to file a suit against that sucker. That never even crossed my mind. But I did run on a strong constitutional platform. And I kept that. I was already converted to the Constitution.
There's a request that you hold a little further away.
Further away?
Yeah, it's loud.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm too loud?
It's distorted.
Well, maybe I'll get rid of the mic and I'll come out there in the middle and just talk to everybody. But, well, yeah, I'll do my best. Oh, you're recording, huh?
Okay. That's all right. No worries.
No worries. So, I was watching TV with my wife one night, and we were channel surfing a little bit, and we saw Bill Clinton on the news signing the Brady Bill into law. And Ron is right. It's not a law. You have to be constitutional to be law. And there's several court cases about that. One was Marbury versus Madison. Read that if you want to see. If it violates the Constitution, it's no law at all and shouldn't be respected as one. Miranda versus Arizona. That says it again there. It's not a law. Just because some vapid legislature who doesn't know what the heck they're doing, or they're trying to pay back donors and they pass some stupid law, it's not law if it doesn't follow the Constitution, and it deserves no respect or honor or enforcement. It's violating the Constitution. We don't go along with anything that violates the Constitution. That's why the Founding Fathers said that it's the supreme law of the land. If you violate it, you could be committing treason.
That's right.
But you're definitely violating your oath of office. How do I sound?
Yeah.
Not good?
No, excellent. Good, good.
All right, so the only thing that really was remarkable about when Clinton did this was that he signed it with 13 pens, and he was left-handed. He signed it with 13 pens, and then he said this, and this really got me laughing. My wife and I were totally entertained by this. This is totally Clinton-esque. He says, the Brady Bill will make America so safe that even our nation's police won't need to carry guns anymore. Yeah, just like all the rest of the gun control laws they passed. There's over 20,000 gun control laws in America. Did you know that? 20,000. How have they served you? They made you safer? Made you sleep better at night? The cops don't need to carry guns anymore? Yeah, really funny. And so, on January 21st, 1994, just the following year, 3 agents of the BHF show up to our Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix, and there's only 15 counties in Arizona. There's only 13 sheriffs there, and 3 agents gave us a document detailing what sheriffs had to do to enforce the Brady Bill. Anybody have a problem with that? Well, we sure did. And I thought all of the sheriffs were just going to stand up united in Arizona, Democrat and Republican alike, and say, no, we're not doing that. And they were all cussing up a storm. I was the youngest sheriff in the state at the time, just got reelected to my second term. And these other guys are a lot older and wiser, and they totally convinced me we should not be doing this. You never heard so much cussing in your life. And it wasn't coming from me. I was listening. I wanted to know what these guys were going to do. They totally convinced me I was not going to do it. And they all changed their minds. They all acquiesced and said, well, oh, you can't fight City Hall. And I said, who wants you to believe that? City Hall. And so when they all went around the table and said, we're going to have to go along. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not doing it. You guys totally convinced me. You all, every one of you, just were cussing up a storm about how we should not be doing this. And how arrogant the federal government was to come in here and tell us we're going to enforce federal law for them for free. Yeah, crazy. And so I had a 2.5 hour drive home, and I was just fuming the whole way home. And when I pulled up in my driveway, it hit me. You're going to sue your own federal government. And I said, no way, man. You don't know that pretty little blonde girl in the house is not going to go along with this at all. So I at first I was really scared, and then I go, my wife's not going to let me do this. And I don't know if she was having a bad hair day or what, because when I told her what I was going to do, she said, I think now we know why you were supposed to be sheriff. And you see, it was such a miracle. I wasn't supposed to be sheriff. I hadn't lived there for 12 years. I got my law enforcement experience up in Provo, Utah. And I worked there 11.5 years, and then I moved home and ran for sheriff. And I never worked in law enforcement in my life in Arizona or in my hometown. But I was new blood and I was old blood. And I had some name recognition there for playing sports and stuff. And my dad was an FBI there, so we had some good family name recognition. And so I got elected miraculously. That was a miracle. And then I filed this lawsuit, and that was a miracle. And then we go to the United States Supreme Court, and that was a miracle. And I married my wife. I skipped that one, and that was a miracle. And then we win.
Yes.
In a 5-4 split, we win. And I'm just going, what miracles? Now I don't care if I lost the sheriff race 7 months before that. I didn't. This was such a huge victory. And CBS News hired me, or they put me in a hotel and wanted me to do this news conference with them. And they said, do you feel vindicated now? And I said, yeah, can I have my job back? And I said that flippantly, and I wanted everybody to hear that, actually. Because it did cost me my job, and I'm telling you, there's a lot worse things. And the sheriffs that acquiesce all over the country, that compromise your liberty for their pension or their job, is absolutely despicable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stand your ground and do what you're supposed to do. Keep your oath and defend the rights of your people.
That's right.
That's what we're here for. Boy, I almost gave away part of my presentation. So now you know what brought me to that point, and now you're going to know what we teach today. And none of this is Sheriff Mack stuff. None of it. Did you hear me? None of this, Amy, did you hear me? None of this is Sheriff Mack stuff. I didn't come all the way from Arizona to give you a bunch of Sheriff Mack opinions. They're not mine. But a lot of this came from this wonderful case, Mack Prince v. U.S. And I was the first one to file, but Prince, the second sheriff to file, was from Montana, and his court calendar wasn't as busy as the one in Tucson, so he actually got heard first, and that's why his name is on the case most. But we got consolidated, he and I did, when we went to the 9th Circuit in San Francisco, and it was the Mack Prince case at that time, and then they took off Mack for some reason, but it's because he was heard first. And I don't care. I love Prince, and he and I just had a great reunion, because on the 26th of June of this year was the 26th anniversary of this case. And you're going to want to really get to know this case, and I'm going to introduce a lot of that to you. Right now, I'm actually glad Mary brought this stuff up at the beginning about that stupid article. They're going after me so bad it's not even funny. CNN has gone after me. The Daily Beast has gone after me. The Washington Post has gone after me. And then the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is, of course, a lot of these are badges of honor. And what's that one? Defamation League. Anti-Defamation League. Yeah, they defame me all the time, and they're called the Anti-Defamation League. And they've never even talked to me, ever. And this is nonsense. That the CSPOA was born out of posse comitatus. Do you know even what that is? It's a law that was passed in 1878 that military can't be used in domestic reasons. That's what it is. So my organization was born out of that? Folks, 100%. The CSPOA was born out of my lawsuit. Because it totally endorsed what we were doing, and what we wanted to do. That's nonsense. Oh, they just make this stuff up and put it out there. And they're such, what we're saying, such liars, but they don't care. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get after anybody who defends our Constitution against the destruction going on today. And they will marginalize you, they will murder you, they will kill your reputation, they will try to destroy whatever you're doing. But get in their way and watch out. And they do not care if they lie or if they kill. And they're trying right now to murder my reputation and to stop with the work of the CSPOA. And when Ron says join the CSPOA posse, yes, we need you to do exactly that. One, that's how you keep us funded, but this is also how you go to other people in your counties and say, we're part of the CSPOA, and we want you to be a part of it also. And you want your sheriff to listen to this. You want your county commissioner to listen to this. And you want everybody in your county to become united in the holy cause of liberty. And that's what we put first. That's what America is supposed to put first. Not welfare programs, not all these other stupid laws, stupid statutes. I'm not even going to call them laws anymore. The stupid pieces of legislation. I thought I was going to say something else. All this legislative crap and all this stuff that they're doing to take care of us. Don't you feel so much better after the last 3 years? Our government was trying to take care of us. Yeah, sure they were. What they were trying to do is condition you to be okay with the destruction of your Constitution. That's what they were doing. Okay, so let's see if we can get going here. And this first slide, well, real quick. This is a copy, the highlighted version of my Supreme Court victory. You should leave with several of these before the night's out. The Magic of Gun Control. It's a fun, fun book. Are You a David? What a great book. Are you willing? Are you courageous enough to accept the call to stand against Goliath? Well, are you? Well, then you need that book. Okay. The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. That's 40 years ago. That's me 40 years ago. And then my very first book that was born out of the lawsuit, How to Achieve Posse Comitatus? No, stupid idiots. From My Cold Dead Fingers, Why America Needs Guns. That's the intention of the whole thing. And then what I wrote in 2009, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. Because if you're going to keep this restoration of our Constitution peaceful,
Yes.
you're going to need your sheriff on board. You're going to need your sheriff. And our goal is to keep the restoration of our Constitution peaceful and effective. And so far, the times that sheriffs have stood, it has done that every time. Do you know how many sheriffs stood against the CDC and state COVID-19 mandates? Not enough, but there was over 500. Over 500. There was 25 in California. That's a miracle. Another miracle. I know. So what you need to hear about this, and keep reminding me where to put this. This next slide, this next video you're going to get to see here, and this is already set up, right?
Yeah.
This is all we're after at the CSPOA.
A video going viral, posted on the internet by two activists who brought a camera into the Albany International Airport while they passed out flyers. Now, it led to a heated dispute over First Amendment rights. Beth Workman has our top story. Beth?
I've been able, as you'll see in the video clip, an airport spokesman tries to stop these activists from their mission, but a sheriff's deputy steps in to settle the confrontation and the right to free speech.
So hey everyone, this is Ashley Jessica. I am here at Albany International Airport.
The young woman is standing outside the security checkpoint at the airport, telling the camera that she's there to hand out flyers to travelers, reminding them of their right to opt out of getting the body scan, which she claims carries health risks.
Okay, hold on. First of all, turn this off right away.
Airport spokesman Doug Myers tells the crew to stop videotaping and to go downstairs, which they agreed to do, and they are confronted again.
Sir, you have $1 million insurance policy here. You're violating the airport authority guidelines. That doesn't matter to us at all, okay? So check that out. You're in our airport.
But as the tension builds, Sheriff's Deputy Sam Lennox steps in, separating the two parties, then lays down the law.
Obviously, this is your constitutional right, okay? As far as we're concerned, you're not breaking any laws, okay?
Wow, did you hear that?
I want to get across to you.
A deputy sheriff said, we want you to understand, you're not breaking any laws. This is your constitutional right. What if every deputy sheriff and sheriff was trained to do that in America? You know what? Only give you a third. Give me a third of them that are.
Yeah.
Then the people will always know they have some place to turn for peace, safety, and liberty. This deputy was doing his job, keeping his oath. Why did he just go and slam him to the floor like he's supposed to do? What's the matter with him? That was Albany, New York. It's okay to do it there. For heaven's sakes, officer, act like you're in New York. You know, take your baton out, start beating them. No, this is such an important video because we all can do this. We can be fair and honest. And even if they had to leave, you know what? If the airport said you're trespassing, get out, maybe they should have, okay? But it doesn't take that. It doesn't take beating people to achieve that. Never. Do you know they say all these horrible things about me? And in 20 years of law enforcement, I never shot anybody, never hit anybody with my nightstick, never maced anybody, never slugged anybody, never beat anybody, never. And I was a patrol officer stopping fights on Main Street and breaking up fights in bars. And I just didn't think we needed to do that. And it wasn't an accident. I prided myself on that. And now these guys call me a domestic terrorist. I know. And we have never advocated violence of any kind. And we don't support it and never have. I was asked to go to January 6th. You know what I told them? Don't go. Nobody should go. And I announced it on radio shows. We announced it to all our people. Don't go. There's no reason to go. There's only 2 weeks left in his term. They said, oh, well, he's going to do something really amazing. I said, no, he's not. He's going to tell you goodbye. You don't need to go. It's going to accomplish nothing. I didn't know it was going to happen like that. But I'm glad I wasn't there. And now you know what they're saying about me? I organized it.
Good job.
Yeah. I was in Arizona golfing.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency.
She made it an emergency.
I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute.
My oath is not absolute. Right. She just admitted to everybody what a liar she is. How about trying that? Anybody ever been to court? Try that in court. I promise, I swear to uphold, no, I swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, Your Honor. But in my view, that's not absolute. And I can lie when I want. What do you think? So she should already be investigated for perjury. I mean, what a liar. And all she was trying to do is test the political waters in New Mexico that we'll try this for 30 days, and if it goes and nobody objects, then I'm going to keep it. We're going to make it permanent. But guess what happened? Dun, 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 dun.
I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce it.
You see, but the national media says we're not allowed to do this, what this sheriff just did. This is what I did. You guys remember, I didn't form a posse. I didn't form a militia. I didn't form an army. I didn't march on Washington. I got a lawyer. I called the NRA, and they had lawyers ready to go to help us with this. And I hired my own lawyer out of Tucson. And we sued the federal government for overreach. This case is known as the anti-commandeering overreach case. And they threatened to arrest us if we failed to comply. And we had 7 sheriffs nationally do this. 7 out of 3,086. And so I went through the legal, lawful, judicial process and won. And then they still say, don't enforce, you still can't do this. You cannot do what the Supreme Court said Mack can do now, or all the sheriffs can do. If we had lost, it would have been catastrophic. You know why? Because then sheriffs would be working for the federal government anytime they wanted. And we would be answering to them. So just so you know, we don't. We don't answer to them. Is the federal government your sheriff's boss? Can they hire him? Can they fire him? None of that. And it's a different jurisdiction, and I work for the people of my county, not politicians in Washington, D.C. And the purpose of the Brady Bill was to make that happen. And then a couple of sheriffs got in the way. Wow. And you want to know something else? There were 5 Brady Bills scheduled, 1 year after another. Howard Metzenbaum from New York introduced Brady Bill 2 just 2 weeks after I filed. And I was all by myself. I was the only sheriff in the United States doing this lawsuit at the time. Prince joined about a week and a half later. And the committee, even the Democrats, said, Brady Bill 1 is in the lawsuit. We're not going to go for number 2 until we see what the adjudication on that is. And after we won, Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 completely died. Have you heard about this, that they were trying to serialize ammunition and regulate it out of business? That was in Brady Bill 2. Yeah. No joke. Okay. Okay. All right, who said this? Can you see that? Can everybody see that okay? There are 2 types of laws, just and unjust. I will be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal, but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. Can you imagine saying the opposite? You have to obey all laws, no matter how horrible they are. They can be unjust as hell, and you still have to obey them, and the cops still have to enforce them. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, and I have actually heard some sheriffs say that. I will enforce whatever law is out there until the courts tell me I can't. Well, you pathetic excuse of a public servant. Yes. The goal is not the enforcement of stupid laws. The goal is liberty in America. Liberty is the goal. Have you ever asked yourself what the purpose of all government is? We're going to cover that in just a minute. So who said this? Go ahead, shout it out.
Thomas Aquinas or MLK.
Ooh, whoa.
All right.
Now, how many did you guess on there?
It was MLK kind of quoting Thomas Aquinas.
That is totally MLK.
All right.
And I love this quote because the left loves him. And they're going to say, he never said anything wrong. They're right on this. There's some things that I disagreed with him about, but not this one. This is good. And you know where he was at the time? Birmingham County Jail. And he's writing this from jail because he's in jail and he did not commit a crime. He was arrested over 30 times by cops who were enforcing stupid orders. There weren't even laws or statutes or anything. They just, because he would not obey, not to peaceably assemble. he would not obey, not to peaceably assemble. And they arrested him over 30 times for that. And they still do it today. They might not do it to Martin Luther King or his followers. Maybe they do. I'm sure they do sometimes. But oh yeah, I know exactly. How many ministers, Rodney Howard Brown of Tampa, were arrested just for having church? And that happened in Canada, and that guy just got out of prison. And it happened all over the United States. And Pastor Che On in Pasadena refused to shut down. The sheriff defended him there, but it didn't happen. It took a while, and he was, I think they tried to shut him down several times, and he wouldn't do it. And then he sued Newsom, and you can look this up. He sued Newsom and won $1.5 million, and when he won, he announced it. You can look this up, Pastor Che On. And he said this: the government doesn't run our church. Jesus Christ does. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. A novel idea. Okay? But this is huge. This is a huge quote. This totally is in line with our Supreme Court decision, and it's in line with American ideals. And it's in line with the Constitution. Do not forget the goal in America. All three branches of government have the same duty and the same job. Protect God-given rights. That's it. If they're not doing that, they shouldn't be there. Okay? This is the oath of office. We all swore it. It's pretty simple. Some states have changed it, but in every single one, still, the United States Constitution is first. And you know why we take the oath? Who knows why we took the oath? Because Article 6 requires it by law that each of us must swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution. And we're going to see that right now, too. Okay, here it is. All the senators and representatives. I'm getting in your way here. Yeah. All the senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures. All state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, no matter how communistic, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Did you understand it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to get her a tip later. But folks, this is simple. I didn't make any of this up, did I? No. It's really simple. So let's keep going.
Will you go back and have the slide up with the oath and actually read it?
You want me to read the oath?
Yeah, yes.
You think I have a lot of time, don't you? Okay. I, Richard Mack, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God. So in God's name, we promise to do that. But what did Governor Grisham in New Mexico say? That's not absolute. If your word isn't absolute, is there anything that is? No, no kidding. Yeah. So, okay, there it is, right out of the Declaration of Independence. What is the purpose of all government? There it is. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That almost sounds like it's a little bit religious, doesn't it? You know why? Because it is. Do you think of a person that is assigned to protect your God-given rights is not a little bit of a religious assignment? Of course it is. My gosh. I mean, my God, yes. To secure these rights, this is the reason why you have sheriffs, governors, dog catchers. We're not sure why in the hell we have a president, but it includes him and anybody else in government. It's why we have county commissioners. It's why we have city councils. Their job is to protect our civil rights. Whatever happened to civil rights? It seemed like that died with Martin Luther King. But you know what? They still do these abuses. They just moved on to Catholics and Christians and constitutionalists. Those constitutionalists. And you know who else? Amish farmers. I've worked with so many of those guys all across the country. I drank, but I have drunk raw milk with at least 6 or 7 of my good brothers in the Amish faith. The first one was Vernon Hirschberger on the Capitol steps in Madison. And we're sitting there drinking, and some state senator saw us, and he came out and did it with us. Yeah. And I've done that so much. I did it in Kentucky, I did it in Utah, I did it in Nevada, and a couple other states. And the one in Kentucky was at the Kentucky Sheriff's Association banquet. There's 116 sheriffs there, and the Louisville sheriff that was his jurisdiction was sitting right next to me. I started worried. Because some people think that raw milk is like cocaine. It's supposed to be illegal and you can't have it. No way, you're going to kill everybody. You know? And so I've done that. And you know the truth of the matter is? I hate milk. Okay, we're going to keep going. Okay, state nullification. This is really key. Now, Jefferson and Madison talked about state nullification of law. And they said, read down there in gold, states have the authority to judge the constitutionality of the federal government's laws and decrees. Historically speaking, why do we know that is true? Who formed the new federal government? Who formed the Constitution? The states did. And who formed the new central government? The states did. And they delegated to them certain unalienable powers. And they were very few. Very few. Because what were the founding fathers scared of the most? A repetition, a repeat of King George III abuse. They wanted to make sure that could never happen again. That was their biggest fear. And so they wanted government to stay small and out of our lives. Oh, boy. Now, some people say it was the fault of the Constitution that has allowed this corruption. It's corrupt public politicians that care more about power and money that has caused this. It's not the Constitution. Follow the Constitution and see if this happens anymore. It won't. It can't. Okay. He also argued that the state should refuse to enforce laws which they deemed unconstitutional. Folks, this is not me. I didn't make any of this up. But I totally agree with this. Okay? Now, we're going to keep going because we've got to get into the Supreme Court decision. All right. Okay, these are the 2 sheriffs that went to the Supreme Court. Yours truly and Jay Prince. This is the first quote that I'm using right now in this discussion. And this is in that little booklet. So you don't need to copy it or anything else, just get a little booklet. If you can't afford one, I'll give you one, and that's no joke. But they're $2 or they're 3 for $5, so you should get enough to pass around. Now, one lady last night, she bought about 20. Yeah. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. Folks, that's not me. That's the United States Supreme Court. And not only that, you know what? It's not even the Mack Prince case. This is from the New York case of 1992, when New York sued the federal government to stop them from putting nuclear waste in their state. They said, we don't have to take that. And they sued and the Supreme Court agreed, you don't. I don't know what they did with it, but who knows. But we are not subject to federal direction. They're not our boss. You think the states created another government just to be like King George III? No. Hell no. Okay, so this is Judge John Roll in my first case. This is the district court, federal district court in Tucson. That's where it all starts, the district court. And then you go, if you appeal that, it goes to the circuit court. Then if you appeal that, it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. And that's exactly what happened to us. But this is the only place I testified. But Judge Roll surmised in one sentence why I did what I did. I was forced to choose between keeping my oath or obeying the act, subjecting myself to possible sanctions, the arrest. is what he's referring to. Judge Roll is referring to that threat of arrest. And I believe that's right now. No, that's just showing. Everybody know what a Clio is? What's a Clio? Sheriff, what's a Clio? Chief law enforcement officer. So the Brady bill called the sheriffs doing this lawsuit the Clios. And in the Brady bill itself said, we're going to be giving these orders to all the Clios in the country. And that was the sheriff in every case. They know who the Clios are. And you have positive right now proof that it is the sheriff. And so this whole thing about, Sheriff Mack thinks the sheriff are the Clios, the chief law enforcement officer, when FBI and even more the president, what a crock of crap. So, this is a threat of arrest right here. Under a separate provision of the GCA, that's the Gun Control Act of 1968. Any person who knowingly violates the section of the GCA amended by the Brady Act, not law, shall be fined under this title, imprisoned for no more than 1 year, or both. And so, my attorney, Dave Hardy from Tucson, came to me one day and he said, hey, do you want to have some more fun? I said, yeah, this is really fun, Dave, thank you. And he said, no, he says, have you ever worried about them coming and arresting you at 2 o'clock in the morning? Or like they did some of the guys, Roger Stone, he got it at, 6 o'clock in the morning? And I said, yeah, that's crossed my mind a few times. And he said, why don't we try to get an injunction, like an order of protection from the Clinton administration for being able to touch you until the litigation's over? We got it. It's all part of the record. It's all part of the record. So he filed, and Janet Reno filed a response and said, oh no, we didn't mean to say we were going to arrest the sheriffs, the Clios. We just said we were going to arrest the gun shop owners. Does that say gun shop owners anywhere? Yeah. So the judge said, Ms. Reno, you don't get to interpret the law for Congress or what they intended, and that isn't what it says. Matt gets his injunction. Do you know historically what that really means? Look at all the people that ever sued Bill Clinton. I was the only one to do so on a non-sexual matter. You know, another miracle. You know? Okay, we're gonna keep going. There's so many stuff. Okay, so Reagan warned us that the tax system in America was completely unjust, completely counterproductive. It reeks with injustice and is fundamentally un-American. It has earned a rebellion, and it's time we rebel. You know what? We can keep that peaceful too. But I'm telling you what, folks, we got to stop feeding the beast sometime. That's right. And like we're paying for our own demise, you know. I'm telling you, Reagan called that one right, and he called it right when he was promised us all that he was going to abolish the Department of Education. Yeah. But he should have started with the IRS, but he didn't get any of them done, and we need to help him get that done. Yes. You know. So Britain was an army to enforce her tyranny. Have we come full circle? And the federal government has that now, don't they? Several of them. Several. Okay. Now, this is typical federal government employees. They can do anything they want. I was sitting in the Denver airport and I saw this USA Today newspaper article, front page. So I went and bought it. U.S. drug agents engaged in sex parties, and it's not with the Clinton. Cartels supplied to prostitutes. Justice Review said, these cartels are the very entity the DEA is supposed to be fighting down in Latin America, specifically Colombia. And they're taking bribes in the form of prostitutes from the cartels. Do you know how many of them? There was dozens of them. Do you know how many of them were arrested? Charged? Disciplined? Sued?
0.
reprimanded, just slap on the hand, anything? Nothing. 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 Oh yeah, I know. Isn't that a shock? Maybe back in 2015, you'd expect it to happen. It didn't. Trey Gowdy was on the committee interviewing the new DEA director. Said, "Why can't you fire him?" "Oh, we just can't." "Why didn't Trey Gowdy ask for criminal investigations?" He didn't. Because they don't do that in Washington. Even supposedly from these good guys. Folks, we're subject to this kind of corruption, and these guys are taking our money and using it like this, and there's nothing we can do. Well, I guarantee you, we can do something county by county. And we need our sheriffs with us to stop the abuse and the corruption and this type of, and this lack of justice. Okay, we're going to keep going because we just, bring me back to every sheriff's office that didn't come to these, and I'll come back and do this sheriff office by sheriff's office. Because this is just absolutely the most powerful stuff you could get if you're a peace officer. And all other public officials. Every local official needs to see and know about this. This is back to the Supreme Court case. This is Justice Scalia talking to all of us now. It is incontestable that the Constitution established a system of dual sovereignty. Although the states surrendered, the states didn't surrender, he's wrong about bad choice of words, we delegated certain powers to the federal government. That's what the 10th Amendment says. That's what we sued on, the 10th Amendment. Although the states delegated some of their powers to the new federal government, they retained a residuary and inviolable sovereignty. If we were inviolably sovereign, do you think we'd be able to run our own education? Run our own land, our own lakes, our own Grand Canyon? That doesn't belong to the federal government. They just took it and we sat there and watched them. No. Residual state sovereignty. Now this is Scalia taking us through a justice equation. A plus B plus C equals ABC. And let me show you how he does it. Residual state sovereignty was also implicit, of course, in the Constitution's conferral upon Congress of not all governmental powers. That's A. They don't have all governmental powers. Well, then the next question for B is, well, what kind do they have? He answers it. Only discrete, enumerated ones. There's B. And then he says, okay, the question is, how do we keep them that way? There's C. By the assertion, by the rendered express, these are rendered express by the assertion of the 10th Amendment. Now, another question for this ABC equation. Who's supposed to enforce the 10th Amendment? The federal government? So, the federal government's going to enforce states' rights and state sovereignty? They're the ones violating it every day. And you know why the states usually go along? Federal grants. You want to get your federal money? You want these bribes? Then you've got to play along. And I don't care. I never took a federal grant. I never. And nobody should. They're dangerous and they're part of corruption. There's no such thing as a legal bribe. And there's no such thing as no strings. It's always that way. Then he quotes the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Do you get the power behind that? It's up to us. And we must do what Madison said. Erect the barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. He said that way back in 1775. Erect the barriers. That's all we want to do. We want to do what Deputy Lennon did. We want to do what Sheriff Allen did in Albuquerque, in Bernalillo County. He erected barriers. He didn't have to do anything except tell the press and the governor, we are not enforcing your unconstitutional law. Bang, end of story. Done. She rescinded it. He made her look foolish. But you know what? She didn't need his help. Didn't need his help at all. Okay. The great innovation of this design was that our citizens would have two political capacities. One state, one federal. Now get this next one in red. Each protected from incursion by the other. Folks, I didn't make that up. I'm sorry, I didn't make it up. This is in the Supreme Court decision. Each protected from incursion by the other. It's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And he gets even further clarification, where we get further clarification from Justice Scalia in this. And what time is it?
8:20.
It's 8:20. This separation of the two spheres is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. Keeping the federal government and the state government separate and two entities defending rights is exactly what our government is all about. And when we do that, when we have both the state and the federal government defending liberty, this is what happens. And Scalia now is quoting Federalist 51. You see what he did here? He took us through a history lesson. That's all he's doing with this. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. Did you hear that? The different governments will control each other. It's our job to do that. At the same time that the federal government will control itself. Anybody believe that's ever going to happen? No. But do you know who has the responsibility to make it happen? Us. Your city councils, your townships, your sheriffs, your county commissioners, your governor, your state legislature, and your attorney general. But that's probably not going to happen. So the thing is, we've got to do this county by county. And give me some constitutional commissioners and give me some constitutional sheriffs, and it's going to happen with the constitutional posse. You know, your sheriff can call out a posse anytime he wants.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up either, but I had one. And do you know how many sheriffs actually have posses right now? About 90%.
Wow.
And most of them are used as in what? Search and rescue squad. Almost all of them are volunteers. What do you think a posse is? It's volunteers helping the sheriff get his job done. That's it. Okay, we're going to keep going. We got to keep going. The federal government, we may not compel the states to enact or administer a federal regulatory program. What does that do to CDC mandates? Yeah, didn't have to do it. No. This is my favorite quote. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation. In other words, resist the evil. Resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an immediate solution, as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. The crisis of the day. Folks, if you wanted something to sue on COVID-19 mandates, it's right here, and it came out June 27, 1997. From a couple of naive sheriffs who stood for America and stood for freedom and ended up at the Supreme Court in a total miraculous day. And this is the order of the court. This is Scalia now shaking his finger at the federal government and at the states. You've got to get busy. We held in New York that Congress cannot compel the states to enact or enforce a federal regulatory program. Today we hold that Congress cannot circumvent that prohibition by conscripting the state's officers directly, in this case the sheriffs. The federal government may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems, nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. Do you want to know why now the left wants to kill this and kill our organization? This is why. This is amazing stuff. This puts the federal government back where they belong. Wow. Next paragraph, real short on this. It matters not whether policy making is involved, and no case-by-case weighing of the burdens or benefits is necessary. Such commands are fundamentally incompatible with our constitutional system, we can leave it right there, of dual sovereignty. Because your state's supposed to be sovereign. But right now, it answers to the Democrat Party. And don't think that the Republicans are exempt from that, because they've done it too. They have, and when Trump was first in, we had control of everything. And they still funded Planned Parenthood. They sure did. And when was the last time they were screaming that we shouldn't be doing that? That we're actually forced as Christians to pay for that. And it's not even a government entity. There's nothing legal or lawful about that. And we sit here with our thumbs in our mouths and say, oh gosh, things are so bad, aren't they? We've got to do more. Whatever happened to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Whatever happened? How have we done on life? How have we done on liberty? How have we done on property ownership and the pursuit of happiness? Man, we've got a lot of work to do. Okay, I'm going to go right. I'm going on. Keep that to yourself.
Let me have those front seats. Let me have those seats. You can move. If you don't give me that seat, I'm going to have you arrested.
That's always been the same.
Yes, sir. I'm going to make this happen. I needed that seat and she wouldn't move. I want to arrest her. What would you say to that? Why do you always push us around when you listen to that?
Did you hear that? The law is the law. That's what they tell us. That's what they tell the CSPA. Whatever the law is, you have to enforce it whether you like it or not. You don't get to pick and choose. You're right. We don't get to pick and choose. The argument about picking and choosing was over when you swore your oath in God's name to uphold and defend the Constitution. And who decides how you do that? You do. The person who took the oath. Do you think anybody that goes to court and swears the oath can say, well, as long as my sergeant lets me, you know, or I better check with my mom or my wife or my cousin. I got to check with the sheriff to see. If you swear the oath, you and you alone are responsible for its fulfillment. That means what? You need to know the Constitution. and the Bill of Rights in particular. Trump had his violated already. And I don't know why they're not going after that. And Trump should be challenging the stupid indictments.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What did the judge in New York call those indictments? Ham sandwiches. Mm-hmm. You can indict a ham sandwich, he said, because it's so simple, because it's completely manipulated and controlled by the DA.
Lawfare.
Yeah. So, I'm going to finish in about 2 minutes here. What should have happened that day that Rosa Parks got arrested? By 2 peace officers who swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, yet they arrest an American citizen. I was 3 years old when that happened. And they arrest an American citizen for not giving her seat to a white man in the United States of America. And people say, you know what? The left, literally, that is telling us you don't get to pick and choose, are supporting that arrest. The law is the law. Send Martin Luther King to jail. Maybe he'll write more books inside jail. So we're helping him, I guess. This is so absurd. It absolutely stinks. But what should have happened? And I have the solution here. I'm not kidding you. What should have happened that day? Well, I'm going to tell you the story. I promise. I'm not going to leave you hanging. The good constitutional sheriff is in dispatch when he hears this call come out for downtown Birmingham. And he tells the dispatch, I'm going to take that call and I'm going to take Deputy Jones with me. And the sheriff goes downtown and he gets on that bus and he walks up to Rosa Parks and he says, ma'am, and he knew her. She's done this before. And he said, Mrs. Parks, what seems to be the problem here tonight? And she goes, why can't we just be left alone? Anybody else feel that way ever? And he says, Mrs. Parks, you're right. And it would be an honor for Deputy Jones and me to escort you home safely. Would you allow us that favor? And she goes, that would be really nice. Thank you, Sheriff. And they escort her home in front of a lot of people wondering what's going on. But everybody on that bus, you think they're talking about this later? You better believe it. And the sheriff doesn't care. The sheriff's going to do what's right. And he takes her home, and her husband comes charging out. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? And the sheriff goes, take it easy. Rosa didn't give her seat to a white man tonight. And he yells at her, Rosa, I told you to stop doing that. And the sheriff goes, calm down. We got you covered. It's going to be okay. We're going to give your family extra patrol all throughout the night and throughout the coming weeks. And we're going to make sure that nobody messes with you and your family. But Mr. Parks, I need to ask you, as your sheriff, do you have a gun in the home? He says, you bet I do, Sheriff. It's a 12 gauge. And the sheriff asked him, do you keep it loaded? And he said, Sheriff, it doesn't do you any good if it's not loaded. He said, you're right. You're right. Thank you. But I'm just bringing that up because we won't be able to be here 24/7. We got other things we have to do. We'll be here as often as we can. But if you have to defend your family, you let your conscience be your guide. Folks, that is a constitutional sheriff. That is what we're after. Deputy Lenny, that's the kind of deputy we're after. And this sheriff right now taking care of Rosa, what should have happened, instead she went to jail, she was booked in, she was fingerprinted and photographed. Absolutely absurd. They still do it today. And in fact, I think they do it more today. Regardless of how often or how frequent, we've got to stop this. And you can ask your own sheriff because you need a relationship with him and you work out a plan of action to erect the barriers and make sure these abuses and crimes do not happen in your county ever again. And he's got to be educated. You can't do this without education. We will come back and do this. We'll do that for them in private. We'll do it to their office. Sheriff Jenkins in Virginia had me come out and do it 3 hours in the morning so everybody in his office could come. And then for shift workers, we did it 3 hours in the afternoon. That's the constitutional sheriff for you, Scott Jenkins in Virginia, Culpeper County. And we've done those in other places. It's time to take back our liberty, and that's our goal. And as the Founding Father said, I'll leave with this. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. I ask each of you to donate to this holy cause, join us in this holy cause, and keep us going. And make sure that you're a part of this holy cause in taking back America, county by county and state by state. Thank you so much, and God bless.